So there's a lot of body shaming, right? There's a lot of body shaming of public figures, and you can go online and read about how some push back on that body shaming because we all have a place, and we can be healthy at so many shapes and sizes. There are skinny people who are quite unhealthy, and there's people in larger bodies that are unhealthy. So it's, I guess I always say my mantra is healthy weight is a conversation. It's not a number on a scale.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us for another episode of At Home with Emily, a podcast about creating a life you love. And of course, here we are in the new year, and the gyms are crowded and the yoga studios are crowded, and we're all, I don't know if it's just like that holiday, if it's a regret or if it's just like, I don't feel very well because my Aunt Sandy makes wonderful cookies and candies, and it's totally acceptable to eat those by the plateful at the Christmas gathering. But Hillary Roberts is here with us today from Missouri State University. You run the program there for all the dietitians that come out in this part of the world and teach all of them, and we are so grateful that you are here with us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Yeah, appreciate it.
Well, thanks for coming. I haven't gotten to interview you for a while.
It's been a bit, yeah.
It's been a while. I've known Hillary for a long time. And the reason I wanted to bring you on is because, we get into this time of like goal setting, and there's just so much going on right now between food and medications and diets and all the things. And I think you're a great person to help with sorting that out and kind of looking at the basics and the baseline. So is it just a matter of where should we start? Do we need to look at that number on the scale and start there? Or where do you start when people start asking you these questions this time of year?
You bet. So, and yes, there's a lot of external forces, right?
Oh, yeah.
All these external signals telling you lose
Peloton
weight,
commercials,
follow this diet,
yeah,
right? And people, and we love that. We love having this certain script,
a rubric
to follow.
Here's our book. This is what I'm doing. I'm doing the South Beach, or,
That's right.
or whatever the case is.
That's right.
I'm cutting out everything except for eggs and bacon. What was that? The Atkins.
The Atkins diet, yes. And then you lose the joy. You lose the joy in eating.
The rules.
You lose the joy in the pleasure, right, of food and enjoying all different food.
Yeah.
And you also tend to think negatively of your body. You're being told that you're less than, that those that are in smaller bodies are better, versus all bodies are valuable. We are all worthy people, no matter of our body size. But the environment likes to tell us, oh, well, you need to lose weight and you'll be happier. But that doesn't happen. The happiness doesn't come. And many times it's because we're not doing it for the internal reasons. It's all the external motivators to look
on
better.
How that I want to look.
Social media is huge as comparisons.
Yeah. So really what we're seeing is, and I mean, I think especially for women, right? Like, so
Sure.
Men have some of this, but I do think for women, there is a push and a pull that, you don't look a certain way, and whatever the current standard may be.
Sure.
And it seems like the current standard is skinny.
Yes, and there's a lot of body shaming, right? There's a lot of body shaming of public figures, and you can go online and read about how some push back on that body shaming because we all have a place, and we can be healthy at so many shapes and sizes. There are skinny people who are quite unhealthy, and there's people in larger bodies that are unhealthy. So it's, I guess I always say my mantra is healthy weight is a conversation. It's not a number on a scale. Yeah.
So let's take the gym into
Sure.
account, because I feel like that's the first thing where everyone starts. Personally, I don't go to the gym. I do yoga and I play tennis because that's what I enjoy.
Yes.
That's what's good for me.
Yes.
However, I have spent a lot of time in the gym in years past, and I think one thing that's helpful is if you can find a community and,
Sure.
you can kind of work on the lifestyle that you want together. But they do have scales everywhere. I mean, every turn and in the bathroom and all the things. Do you think are you a scale avoidance person, or what do you think about that?
Yeah, so As you mentioned earlier, I'm a dietitian.
Yes.
And as I consider myself a weight-inclusive dietitian, and I encourage majority of people to ditch the scale. Right? You ditch the scale. If you look at a lot of intuitive eating books out there, and you can watch podcasts on intuitive eating as well and read about it. But one of the principles of it is to ditch the scale. Don't let your mood, don't let your outlook of your life be tied to that number. Now, yes, at gyms, we're surrounded by scales. And it's
mirrors too.
Yeah, and lots of mirrors.
Yeah.
But like you said, it can build, if you have that community and it works for you, then go to the gym.
If that's your thing.
Yeah, yeah. But if it doesn't work for you, you enjoy tennis, find something you enjoy. Because I think, I don't know, I just think, what's life if we don't enjoy
walking too. I mean, there's just so many different places that you can start. So when we're looking at the internal, like you went there right away, because I mean, you see it and you've seen thousands of people going through this. What is the internal metric that we should be looking at? I mean, it's not just mindset, but also to like how you're feeling. Like, what are some of the things that you should be looking at if you were saying, you know what, I want to get healthy? I think most people start with, I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to lose 20 pounds or whatever it is. But you would start with something else.
I would start more with health, and I would ask you, what does health mean to you? You know, what does that mean? Does that mean not having chronic disease? Does it mean managing chronic disease? Does it mean being able to get on the floor with your grandkids? You know, what does healthy mean to you? So I start there. And then in looking at internal, when we've always had external motivators, it is a mind switch. It's a pivot, and it takes time. It's like learning to write if you're right-handed, learning to write with your left hand. It's a mind switch there. So think of, but as you mentioned earlier, so we're thinking of energy levels. What's my energy level like when I'm eating this breakfast instead of this breakfast? Okay. If I eat a higher fiber breakfast that has protein versus a higher sugar breakfast, how do I feel hours later? You know, so being in tune. You're laughing.
I'm just thinking about the cereal aisle, and like it's my kids' greatest day if we let them pick out. You know, the hyper sugar cereal.
And we have sugar. You know, I have 2 young kids just like you.
Yeah.
And we have all different foods in our homes, from Lucky Charms to Fruit Loops to Raisin Bran and Bran Flakes and Cheerios. You know, we have many different foods there. And cereal, even high sugar cereal, can be a great snack because it's fortified with the nutrients. It has high sugar, but it's better than other high sugar foods. It does have nutrients.
And you can put it with milk.
You can add milk, which adds nutrients, yes. So, and we can go there another time, right? But when you're looking at high sugar foods and adding a protein to it, which milk helps there.
Something that I've noticed about you over the years, because I mean, we've known each other a while now, is you always say not to elevate a food.
Right.
Like you say to look at all foods equally. Yeah. What do you mean by that?
Yes, sure. And for those interested in learning even more, Ellen Satter is who to look at for there. So there's this. She has what's called the division of responsibility for parents and kids. So it's our responsibility as parents to provide all the food, and then it's up to the child whether or not to eat it. So
That's wild.
She encourages you. So we provide, you know, all the different food groups, or do what you can, right? I mean, we're all so busy. So don't have all this guilt when dinner is Nutella sandwiches and bananas, you know? So don't have all that guilt when it's not always perfect. But it's having the treats at the table. And if they want to eat it first, that's fine, but there's no seconds on treats.
Okay.
There's plenty. You can have seconds on all the other foods. So that's kind of what that looks like, in that at the dinner table, all the food fits. Have the treats there. Do I always do that? I don't always do that, all right? It sometimes works well in my family, and other times it doesn't. There's a lot of different reasons why, with moods and tiredness and emotions coming to the dinner table. But we sit there together, and I have lots of treats, and if they want that with their meal, that's okay. That's okay. And your spaghetti's sitting there, and in the end, they usually eat that spaghetti too, but they might eat the cookie first.
Well, and if we're talking about parenting, you know, I do feel like where mom goes with the food, the family goes.
Right.
You know, I mean, we're the ones bringing everything in, preparing things, and giving those options too.
Yeah, so role models. We're definitely role models for our kids in that regard. And I know it's quite interesting when my husband and I choose not to have desserts, the kids many times don't think of it. It's quite interesting. I've kind of done my little research experiment at home. Let's not have the treats out and visible, and we'll just have the meal. And after the meal, they just go on and play, and they don't ask. But if I go up to get a treat, or my husband goes up, let's get his Reese's peanut butter cups.
Oh, yeah.
Because he loves Reese's. And then, of course, my little ones, I want one too. But otherwise, it's not on their mindset. So, role modeling goes a long ways.
When I'm listening to you, I feel like your shopping cart would have all of the standard stuff in it. But I know that you cook healthy too. Like I know that you do prepare balanced meals, and I mean, you're a wonderful cook, so that helps. But where do we start when it comes to our diet? I've heard people say like it's great at the grocery store to like shop the perimeter.
Right.
Of the grocery. Like, I hear all these different things. Like, what do you tell people?
Right. And now there's grocery pickup. So I use grocery pickup all the time. True. It saves me so much time.
I forget I live in the Stone Ages. I'm one of the only people still. Yeah, I'm fighting my way past the giant carts that are shopping for everyone else.
Yes. And I was in the store the other day with my young one, and she loves going grocery shopping. She doesn't get as much treat. Since COVID, but she loves going grocery shopping. And the other day, I want an orange. I'm like, oh, no, sure, let's get oranges. I don't normally buy that. But yes, you're looking at choosing your fresh fruits and vegetables first. And many times when you walk in the store, the produce is first.
Yeah.
So going through the produce aisle first, also not being hungry when you go shopping. Because if you're hungry, you're more apt to buy the high sugar, high saturated fat foods for sure. But doing that outside first and then working your way in. But I know that doesn't always work for me either. I do try to do the produce first and then go do other things, but then you forget. You're like, now I have to go back and get that and get that.
So what kind of check marks do we need with our diet? Like what do we need on a daily basis? You get all kinds of opinions. And then I feel like too, when people are going to start following this type of stuff on Instagram and stuff, they are going to get into the weeds on all kinds of advice.
Yes. So doing more of a high fiber foods, less added sugar, not less sugar, because there are natural sugars in food. Take fruit. But if you're looking at added sugars, so take your candy bars and your treats and even some of your cereals. Like when I'm looking at cereals, while I buy all cereals, those that have less than 10 grams of sugar and 3 or more grams of fiber are considered more of your healthy cereal.
Okay.
That doesn't mean there's not a place for the others. I love using cereal as snacks for my kids especially. But if you're looking in the morning, you want to predominantly try to not have that high sugar food. So having a cereal that has at least 3 or more grams of fiber. So you're including the carbs and the fat and the protein. You want all 3 of your macros. So many of your diets takes away food, takes away macros.
Takes away carbs.
And demonizes those foods.
Yeah.
Yes. But then long term,
it's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. In the end, it ends up not being sustainable. If it works for you, I would say that's great, but try to find other ways then to get your fiber. Because a lot of our carbs are where we're getting our fiber there.
Yeah, which is really important.
Very important. And then if you start eating a lot of protein, you got to make sure you drink plenty of water.
Otherwise, let's talk about protein. Yeah. I feel like that's the biggest thing. There are dietitians out there that's a big part of their business is teaching how to count protein and how to calculate how much protein that you need, and we're not getting enough protein. Yeah. What is your take on that? I mean, it can get into an extreme where I feel like all that we're eating is protein. Yeah. I don't know. Where do you start on that?
The majority of Americans do eat enough protein. We like our beef. We like our hamburgers, right? We like our chicken. We tend to get enough protein. It usually is the fruits and vegetables, the fiber, that we're not getting enough of. Now, if we're looking at adding protein to increase satiety, to make us feel full longer, it helps. It helps. So adding a protein at your meals and snacks will help you feel full longer because it slows down digestion, so it helps immensely. And yes, we need enough protein to build muscle, but most Americans get plenty of it. So I know coming on, I was like, I'm an anti-diet dietitian, right? And so as an anti-diet dietitian, figuring out what works for each person individually. And some people feel better when they eat more protein and less carbohydrates. Then that can work for you. That works great. And we can talk about then just making sure we're not missing any nutrients there.
So is there a truth to varying what you eat? I hear it both ways. Like I hear it's great to, eat the same thing every day, in your lunch, eat the same thing every day for breakfast, like take the thinking out of it. And then I hear other experts saying, it's really valuable to vary what you're picking out at the store.
Variety is positive.
Okay.
Variety is very good because you're getting different nutrients. You may not even realize it but even like keep going back to the cereals, but there's different nutrients in each of those cereals. I think I used to work, a former person who I worked with would eat Subway all the time, the same Subway every day, and then end up getting sick and finding out they had a nutrient deficiency because they ate the same thing every day. So even just like varying your sandwich, varying your chips, there's different.
Changes the ingredients.
Change it up.
That you're
Change
getting.
it up. You don't get tired with it. And then again, I keep going back to the joy, but we have finding joy in food.
So the people who are getting annoyed with us right now, who they're like, I am watching this because I want to lose weight or, I want to make these changes. Where is a good place to start for healthier lifestyle checks that are eventually going to fall in line with how you look and feel?
Yeah, you bet. I think it's very easy to start with our drinks. Because a lot of times we're drinking drinks that have added calories and added sugar.
Tons of calories.
Yeah. And don't forget alcohol, right? A lot of calories in alcohol. So just kind of take a mental note of what you're drinking. Try drinking more water versus the other.
Switch it out.
Yeah, try to make some switches. Helps a long ways to start there. And then start making very small steps. So if you're a person who eats out a lot, and I've been using different some different AI like ChatGPT, and there's different ones of those that can help you with, say, quick meals and meal prep ideas. So it starts first look at your drinks, and then if we're eating out a lot, try to find ways we can start cooking more at home. But we're looking at meals that are easy and fast. And
right, so that you'll stick with it.
Yeah, that you'll stick with it. And
Do you
AI
do
is
meal
really
prep
great.
at the beginning
Meal
of the
prep.
week?
Do I do meal prep? Very rarely, because I feel like that my weekends with my children are very full and packed. And while we could take some hours on a Sunday to meal prep, I tend to just make things on the fly each day.
Yeah.
We kind of come up with it together as we're driving home or getting off the bus. What do you feel like today? But for many families, meal prepping works very well. And also for people living alone, it can work very well because you can make a whole bunch of chicken at the beginning of the day.
Get a couple
soups, put it in burritos, tacos,
a couple meats that you can use various ways,
yeah.
and then mix with the different produce that you've bought.
Exactly.
Okay, so everything that you're saying makes sense, but if we take away that goal setting based on the scale, and then if we're not charting it by 10 pounds, how do we set goals to hold ourselves accountable when it comes to being a little bit healthier?
Yeah. So make goals based on behaviors versus weight. Because also many times when we set a weight loss goal and then we don't meet the goal, we feel like we failed, even though we've made so many positive changes in what we eat. Sometimes our body types, our sizes are set. There are set points, weight set points, and it's hard to get both to change that. So making behavior. So we could look at trying a new fruit a week. That could be a goal. Trying a new vegetable, cooking one meal a night, a week. Trying different foods for breakfast that are higher fiber. So it does take some planning. It takes some thinking of what those behavior changes are. But when you're also looking at making a weight loss goal, you're making behavior changes. So it's making those small changes and make that your goal. Make them measurable, make them specific and realistic for you.
Put them on the fridge?
Put them on the fridge. Yes. Yeah. And for your family, those goals, we're looking at positive goals. We're going to all try a new fruit this week, right? We're going to try a new vegetable and then talk out what that's going to be. What would you guys like? Not just include your kids, include your family in that conversation.
Yeah. It all makes sense.
Yeah.
So we did put out the call for some questions. So we have some of those. Would you be able to stay around and
Sure. I'd be happy
tackle a few of those?
You bet.
Okay.
You bet.
That'd be great. And thank you guys so much for joining us for this episode of At Home with Emily, a podcast about creating a life you love. stick around with us for next time because we've got an amazing personal trainer coming in, and she's going to share all of her insight for what movement can look like as we head into the new year. If you are watching us on YouTube, please be sure to like and subscribe. You can also follow us on all the social sites and head to AroundTheOzarks.com and be sure to sign up for our daily newsletter. We'll see you next time.